Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host today. We have...
Phil!
How are you doing today, Phil?
Great. It's been a busy week, but definitely happy we were able to get some amazing racing, even if it wasn't the 2 hours we were promised. At least we got an hour episode.
Right? What happened?
I think a little thing called the election happened, and
right.
so they got a little concerned. So
fair, they wouldn't probably get the ratings or whatever that they'd probably want, and so maybe they're just. Do you think they'll do a double, like a double episode next week, or do you think they're just gonna like?
I think I heard that they said that they're going to do it at some point. They're going to move it to another time. So probably maybe the next non-elimination one again, because I think that's what they were kind of doing. But
that makes sense. Well, if this is your first time on Reality Realness, well then welcome. We're all about reality TV and all the gossip that goes along with it. So today we're talking about The Amazing Race, as you probably figured out, episode 4. Do you want to start with the survey, or do you want to go into the episode first?
Why don't I tell you what the survey from last week, the final numbers that came in for that. So this is based on last week's episode, some of this stuff. But we asked everybody if they thought that an alliance truly makes sense. And this was actually quite close. It was by 1 vote. But yes was the dominant answer there, that people think an alliance does make sense on the race. People said they would never tell a team if another team forgot to bring anything with them. That was a majority. People never. Then we've got the task that they thought was the hardest was actually quite close as well. It was by 1 vote, the market task. Everybody else was voting for the shelter. I guess that looked kind of hard. And then the team that made the biggest mistake this leg, Jerry and Frank, that's not really a surprise. And a lot of people think that the U-turn will come back and haunt Will and James. So we'll see. We'll see. So far, it doesn't look like it's haunted them too much yet. They're talking about it.
I'm really happy because I'm definitely a bigger fan of Will and James over Alana and Leo personally. So even though they're both on my team, I prefer Will and James. Why are you laughing?
Personally. I like that. That was very good. You're like, on my side, I like Will and James.
Just saying. So, well, we kind of start off this episode with Alana and Leo seeming to tell the group about what happened. They definitely came across as really bitter and a little bit juvenile in how they were handling it. I mean, obviously, people are going to have high emotions for situations like that. But what did you think about that whole interaction at the very beginning?
Yeah, I mean, I like that they showed it like right on the boat. So it must have been like right after they checked in. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt both teams were kind of like, I'm still kind of questioning why bother you turning them that. And I really feel like if you're not sure if you're going to eliminate a team, why bother? Because you're going to have to run into that team at some point. But I don't know. They both seem to be like on the extreme of how people were going to react to it. And it seemed like all the other teams that were there, nobody really seemed to care.
No. I don't even know what Leo said to Will and James. Like, he said something about being U-turned, but it didn't seem to be in a response to what they were actually saying. I was like, I don't understand this response.
Yeah, it didn't make sense. And I actually don't even know exactly how he worded it. It was something you turned us, or you turned, or something. I don't know what it was that he actually said. And I don't know why. I don't know. I guess they the one team was talking about how hard of a leg it was, and so maybe that was it. They were like, "Well, you didn't get U-turned or something." I don't know, but it was taken out of context or something. So
when I listened to Will and James on another podcast, and they basically said that they didn't actually know that they were in first place, and so because when they'd all left a certain thing, they were all like around each other. And so they didn't really know if someone was in front of them or behind them. They thought that Leo and Alana were actually closer to them than they actually were. And so they it was a miscalculation in that sense. But then they also were talking about the fact that they would prefer them to go home just because of the fact that if they were in the bottom, they would save the girls. And so it's like we kind of speculated about that last week.
Yeah. I kind of also feel like because they're really onto this whole 5-team alliance thing, they may look at Leo and Alana as the strongest of the others. And so that could be part of the reason as well of why they went after them. I don't think that they're the strongest of the others. I think this episode, there was at least one team of the others that you would go, that I personally was quite impressed with. I'm sure we'll talk about them when we get to them. But
yes. I think I know who you're talking about. Will and James are going to be leaving first. They're leaving at 11:11. So I was like, make a wish. And they're going to be flying to Paraguay. I don't think you've been there before, but have you traveled there?
I haven't been to the one in South America or the one in Africa, so I don't know.
You think that they were mistaking Uganda for Uruguay?
Yeah, like they're like Paraguay, I think it's in Africa, but I know Uruguay's in Africa. It's like,
But it was they were so confident about that I was like, am I wrong here? Like, I thought it was, I mean, I'm not great at geography, so like, but I just was like, I really don't think that it's in Africa.
No, I would think, and this may be wrong, but I would think that now you're 3 legs into South America. At least once you've probably looked at the countries of South America while you're there in South America. Like you would get an idea of where you could be going.
And it doesn't even sound like an African country. You know what I mean? Like you'd think that if Paraguay is in South America, maybe Uruguay might be nearby. I don't know. I mean, I was making an assumption without having any further knowledge. It just doesn't sound like an African country to me.
No.
But it sounds pretty embarrassing. So the times was actually more tight than I was expecting. So we had Hung and Chi. They were only 7 minutes behind Will and James. They did separate tasks, right? They did the roof, or no? I can't remember right now.
They did the cooking. I thought they did the cooking as well.
I could be wrong. Okay, so another thing that Will and James was saying was that they didn't show it in the episode, but the cooking challenge, people did have to do things over and over again. Like it wasn't like everybody just did it in one shot. Okay. Like they were. I think they said that they made like over 20 of the tortilla things. Like, and so they didn't show that there was multiple efforts made, but. So that's another thing too, is that like they didn't see people when they're doing these tasks, and so they didn't know where they were standing. So and
once you get to like the 20th time of doing something, I'm sure you're in a panic. So exactly. That makes sense. Yeah,
exactly. So Hung and Chi 7 minutes after, then Kalyn and Haley were at 11:33. So only about 20 minutes after. So that's kind of, I think it's pretty close, but. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell if I was Will and James where anybody was if they're that close. You know what I mean?
No.
They'd finish the task, and then like basically the next team is going to come and finish the task or whatnot.
What time was the last team?
Was at 1:50, so 2 a.m. basically. So they were just a little bit shy of 3 hours behind. So I wonder how far behind they would have been if they didn't have to do the U-turn.
Yeah.
But before that also was Michelle and Victoria. And so they were just at about 1 a.m. So, an hour and 45 minutes shy of the leaderboard. Or hour and a half. So, I mean, it's like the bottom teams were quite far away, we'll say, but the top teams were pretty close, like half an hour max. So,
it does still feel like the cooking challenge was the right challenge to choose. Like it does feel that way. Like it feels like then that must have meant the shelter challenge must have been even harder than it maybe looked like. So
it requires manual labor. So I would assume that the women would prefer not to do that one. So I was surprised that Aparna and Ishwar, they chose to do that task, because I was like, I would just think that anybody with a woman on their team would more likely not choose that task.
Yeah.
You know? It's just heavy, and women's bodies aren't necessarily built to carry heavy things. We just aren't, okay? Thank you for doing all that you do.
That's an out there comment, not to me. That was out there.
All you men out there. So Will and James gets to the airport, and they get there first, and they see that they have internet or like a computer that they were able to go and take a look at maps of Paraguay, and they even went so far as to print out these maps to give it to their alliance people. What did you think about that? I know we're kind of debating on whether or not strategy and alliances should be involved in the race. And so, what do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, the fact that it's working for the 5 of them, I mean, nobody's been eliminated yet. It's a smart idea. I still question it for them because they're really got some strong teams in that alliance. And I'm worried for them because, at some point they're going to have to make that move to go against these strong teams because they might be in trouble as they go further in the race. But it seemed to be smart. I'm shocked none of the other teams. I kind of got a vibe Leo might be picking up on something, but he didn't say anything this episode. But like nobody seems to be noticing that these 5 teams seem to always be around each other and talking to each other.
Mm-hmm. So, and even when they're trying to like sneak the clue or the map,
the maps,
who it was, but not let the blonde see. I was like, man, like sneaky.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that I don't know how much it worked because then once they got into the taxis, it seemed like everybody was sort of go and they didn't really have a map to go to that place because it seemed like it was really out in the middle of nothing that you would be thinking you're going to in Paraguay.
Yeah, it felt pretty bad because it didn't like. Obviously, the race wants people to get lost or like have like some adversity kind of like trying to get to these locations. But it just seemed very, vague. Like you couldn't really tell where it was, like even where it actually was. You're kind of like, oh, this is it. Like it just didn't seem as a place. It could have had a bigger landmark or something that maybe even that they put there just to make it a little bit more like extravagant, but.
Yeah, even they could have put a regular clue box there. Like even the clue box was different, and it just was like, "Is this right?"
Yeah, it wasn't obvious that that's where you needed to go at all. And I felt bad for the teams though that also got bad taxi drivers. What did you think about that? The poor girls, the blondes, and Will and James had a bit of a problem with their taxi driver. Do you think that was karma coming to bite them?
Well, I think they're lucky in the sense that the cab driver like right away said, "You need another cab," which you don't usually see that on the race where the cab driver is even agreeing and going, "I have no idea." That's a good thing. The girls, they panicked. I mean, I felt actually a little bit more for the cab driver than I did for the team because I felt like the cab driver was really trying to help and was like asking people, and the girls just kept saying, "No, don't, let's go. And it's like, well, but if she doesn't know where she's going, let her find out where she's going. And and I feel like the people there a lot of them would have probably known where it was. So.
Well, she in the beginning though, when they got in the car, she was giving the thumbs up, and so I thought that she did know where she was going, and maybe where she thought it wasn't where it was. Like, definitely an unfortunate situation for the girls because it wasn't even something that they could prevent and be like, okay, I'm going to get out of the taxi now and like try to find a new one. Like that would have been a very big mistake, I think. So they just had to suffer through it. Poor things.
And I thought when that happened, I was like, those girls are not going to see another team for the rest of the leg. So I was shocked that they actually did, and then it fell apart again for them at the one task. But
Right. Leo and Alana were definitely very happy, though they could see that Will and James had a little bit of taxi trouble. But it seemed to not be too bad in the end. They didn't lose that much time. So the roadblock is, who is feeling instrumental?
Well, this feels like this question. I mean, if it was me and you, this is sort of like when we got to the steel drums. I feel like both of us would be pretty good at this. We both have a background.
Played string instruments, but I've obviously been in like large orchestras. So I've seen, cellos before, you know what I mean? It's not like I understand the mechanics of it. So I think it would be okay. Right. And same with you? Yeah.
I mean, when I was in high school, so a long time ago, I don't know if they make them the same way anymore, but I did violin. But once you know the notes of how to make things sound and that, I think we would have been okay in that challenge if we went with either one of us to choose it. So that's good.
Right. So Riley and Wolf went there first, which is going to be interesting because they definitely do not leave first.
No.
I thought that this was a kind of a cool task for them to do. I've never really seen anything like this, whereas they had to use these recycled materials to make these stringed instruments. Have you ever heard of anything like this before?
No, I don't think I've heard anything about this with instruments before, and it's really great idea. I mean, the band, like they had the orchestra had like everything in it, so it seemed like they were making it out of everything. So, and it seemed like a functional orchestra. So that's pretty cool.
It's funny that when they first were playing, I'm like, oh, it's a little bit out of tune, but and then now I realize, it's not like I didn't notice that they weren't. Professionally made stringed instruments until after. So like, okay, that makes sense why it might not be perfect pitch and sounding good. But I was just kind of like, oh, this isn't that great though.
Little lenient. You got to be a little lenient.
Yeah, a little bit of leniency there. I was really surprised though that D'Angelo and Gary, so they got in there fourth, and he was able to just like whip that up and get out, which I was very impressed by. Did that surprise you?
No, it doesn't surprise me. They're a strong team, and they're on a great, they're in a great person's list in my. But no, honestly, he was very impressive. The fact that I think he might have been the first one to go, the length of the cello matters. And I think he realized everything had to make sense and had to follow the example perfectly. So he's a smart guy. He did it much faster. And a lot of people were going to him for help. So.
I know. I was just pretty impressed that he just was able to he said that he's really good at making IKEA furniture without the instructions. How are you with making IKEA furniture without the instructions?
So when I mentioned before, when I did a charity Amazing Race, we had to do, we did okay on it. But one thing, we had an application thing. And the one thing that we highlighted as what would be a big time problem for you and your partner. And we both wrote, building furniture together, because that is the thing that will always cause arguments with us, because it's better for one of us to do it and not two of us to do it. So it might have been okay in this one because it was one person working on it, not two people.
Who was the better builder though?
Ooh. Is he listening? I don't.
I mean, he might be in the chat.
Yeah. Well, he does seem to do more lately, so I'll give it to him. I'll say he is.
Okay. I mean, I don't really enjoy making IKEA furniture because sometimes it's Ron's listening. You are, Ron. You are. So cute. Yeah, so I don't really love doing it. I do like building and making things, but for some reason, I just don't enjoy doing the IKEA furniture thing. I don't know. I'll hand the tools. I'm like, oh, you need, 6 screws. Here you go. I'll hold them one at a time. You could, you know what I mean? But I don't enjoy putting together IKEA furniture.
Putting it together, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be okay at it in if it was a challenge though, because I like puzzles and I like following rules.
Yeah, and in some ways it is a puzzle, right? Like in some ways you're putting the parts in the right places. So
I guess what I usually don't like is sometimes if you don't get it like perfectly straight, it just messes everything up. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to be very particular about, you know, how tight you make the screw or whatever, and like make sure it's not on an angle and whatnot. And so that the finikiness of putting it together is what I guess I don't like. That sometimes like, oh, the stupid drawer doesn't pull out. You know?
Yes.
So who else did well here?
James and Will did well because I think they actually arrived a little bit later than the other teams. They did well, and was it James who did this one? And
yes, because remember he was asking everybody like how to do it. Okay, what do you think of that? I thought that was very obvious, and if I was Leo, I would be tipped off that there was something going on with him asking everybody except him about like.
Yeah, I did like editing of the show. I did like that they threw in the part where James says to the camera, and we were all helping each other. We were all asking questions, but they perfectly just showed him asking questions and nobody else was asking questions. But you know, you got to remember he printed off all those maps and helped those other teams with other things. But you know, in that situation, I'm sure the editors are editing it in a way to make it seem like, you know, they're getting them a little bit more of a sneaky edit than the other teams. I'm getting. So.
For sure, I definitely clocked that. I was like, oh, it's interesting that they're showing only him asking all these questions. I really was waiting though for Leo to either have a confessional about it or like say something about it, because I thought it was being quite obvious with how they were showing it on the show. I was surprised though that Leo didn't do better, because he did say that his mom was an orchestra teacher or a stringed instrument teacher, and he's played stringed instruments his whole life, he was saying basically. So I was surprised by his placement.
Yeah, they did not. I mean, they weren't the worst. He wasn't the worst at that challenge, but I mean, he seemed the way he was talking, I was like, oh, he's going to do pretty good at this one and show them that they are strong. But they didn't really do that. It was just
I was
okay.
For Will and James was like, oh boy, I don't want them to get to, because I think when did they mention that the yield was ahead?
After that, And so right after they opened this.
So basically, I heard that. I'm like, oh my God, I was still thinking that Leo was going to do better than Will and James. And then I was like, I really don't want Will and James to go out of the race because of the U-turn from the previous episode. So I was really, I know when I start liking teens, when I'm like, oh no, like I'm starting to root for them, or I don't want things to go badly for them, or like I cried a few times this episode. And so did Hung. She cried with them, all the children, and playing the music, and I thought that was really sweet as well. Any tears for you?
I won't say I've had tears yet, but I will say I am pleasantly surprised by the number of teams that I really am getting behind and getting like cheering for. And when they make it to the mat, I'm actually going, yes, like I'm happy. And it's not they're not all like on my draft picks or anything like that. Like I'm finding that these teams are really likable, and they did a really good job casting these teams. So
I totally agree. And Ron does too. Ron says, I find myself cheering for the majority of the teams this time. It's so true. I think I even cheer for more of them than when I was watching the All-Stars one last season. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I enjoyed that season because like I knew all the characters or whatnot, but I'm more invested in these people than I was in the All-Star season. So that says a lot about the casting being pretty good.
It does, yeah.
It's
been a while for me. It's been a couple seasons for me where I have even like felt like I've liked more than one team. This season, I feel like at least half, if not more, I'm like, I really like this team. I don't want them to go. So.
Have you looked at like ratings or anything like that? Do you know if it's doing well, the show?
I have not. So I'll try. I'm going to make a note. We're going to talk about that next week. We'll see how the ratings are.
Well, I'm just we're enjoying it so much, I'm just wondering if a lot of other people are enjoying it as well. And I know that it's a different time where it kind of started later than it would have normally started. It usually would start like maybe right at September. And so the fact that, it's starting so late into the fall, that it's just like, I don't know if it's just different, or if people like it as much as we are, or we're just, starved for content, or we're just like anything but Big Brother 22. Like, what is it?
I think compared to Big Brother 22, I mean, and definitely with casting, there's definitely a lot of praise for this cast on diversity and stuff like that. And the fact that people are being shown in good lights, I think is good as well. So
love it. Okay, so we got a root info, and it's drink up. And so they had to make a terare or terare. I wasn't sure, actually. I was going to look up how to spell it, but I'm just guessing. Basically, it's different herbs and plants that you muddle and make it into a tea of some sort. Have you tried anything like that?
No, but it looked good. Like, I mean, the way what Phil was describing it, I was like, oh, is this gross or is this a good thing? And it looked good when they were making it, and then they drank it and everybody said it looked good. So it might be something to look into. Who knows? Maybe this is a new fad.
I mean, it's not from here, but I remember when mojitos and caipirinhas became so popular. And it was like around 2005. I remember I was working at this restaurant in Montreal, and like we had it down to a science. Like we would make hundreds of mojitos a night, and we would have like 10 pitchers of cut up limes and 10 pitchers of plucked mint. Like we were ready to go, and we used shaved ice, and so we just like buckets and buckets of shaved ice, so we could just like pour and go, muddle, pour and go. But so maybe we can figure out something to do with this tea into some sort of muddled, icy, blended drink mixed with rum or something.
Ooh. I like it.
Try it. Maybe, hopefully we can get all those ingredients here, and maybe we'll if I can, I'll see if I can make it for next week or something.
We'll try. Right. Yeah. We'll cheers to it. That'll be good.
So pretty much nobody really had any trouble doing that. I was really worried that people were going to forget the thermos. Did you have a
yeah. I was like, so I didn't really see what the challenge was there. Like there didn't seem to be a challenging aspect of it, but I guess it was just somewhere to put the yield and get them to get the next clue. But yeah, I mean that if they had forgot their drink, they would have got in trouble for it. So good on them for not doing it.
I don't know. Or read. Oh my goodness. Is the yield a dud? Is it a dud?
I think the problem for the yield will be why bother using it near the beginning of the race? It really is sort of something that's going to be used at the final 5 teams, final 4 teams, and then they won't be allowed to use it after that probably. So it's not great. I mean, because the only way that it will get used right now is if it's one of the back teams and they're confident that a team is right behind them and like it's right at near the end of the leg.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel as though for whatever reason, the producers want people to use these yields, like, because now they're giving one to everybody. But like, it's just, it's not worth it to me to just see some from a television perspective, to see people just waiting at the yield station for 20 minutes. Like, okay, not really that entertaining. And I guess maybe the friction that it would cause between the teams, like by the yielder and the yieldee. But I'm just kind of like, I think the U-turn is more effective and more interesting personally.
Yeah. I mean, I've always before. So Amazing Race Canada did something similar to it, but I always had this idea of there being like a one-way. And the way that I was thinking that it should work would be like at a roadblock where a team that got there before, they would pick which racer from another team had to do that roadblock. So to force them to do that. Or pick, or they make it with they pick the detour for another team that they
I mean,
have
that's
to do.
interesting. That's way more interesting to me.
Yeah, but and I forget. I think they did it with the detour way for Amazing Race Canada. I think it was you got to pick which detour another team had to do, and that caused some drama. So
that's more interesting though, and then you also get to see people strategizing with like, oh well, like we know that he's not great at swimming, so let's put him on the swimming challenge. You know what I mean? Like I'm interested in that more than like, oh, let's see someone look at an hourglass as the time runs out.
Right.
Telling. Right. So am I crazy here, or was switchback a new phrase? Have they had a switchback before?
No, they have. They started doing it probably early in the season 20 to 23. They did them every so often, and it's it's just really a task that's already been done that probably was challenging. So they brought it back, and this one was interesting because they brought it back in the country that it took place in, so it was the exact detour choice. It was the actually no, one was a detour I think, and one was a roadblock. I think I remember the bottle thing. All the teams had to do that, and then the other one was a detour choice that they had to do. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's been some good ones in the past. They've brought back the pushing the hay bale.
I
remember on the thing, the cheese carrying the cheese things down the hill. They've brought that back before, so it's kind of nice to see things come back, especially when they're funny ones. So
yeah, I mean, I felt that I've seen tasks before. You know what I mean? Like they've done that, but I never knew that they called it a switchback. I didn't register that they had named it. But I definitely like, for you Amazing Race historians to see, a task from the past be redone. That's right. I'm sure that you like that little nod to you guys.
Well, now, do you remember season 20 at all?
I mean, not specifically. Is that the season that one of these tasks were in?
Yeah, so that was the season that both of those were in, and that was the season with Rachel and Brendan the first time they raced it, and that was the Amazing Race is supposed to be fun. Breakdown from Rachel.
I don't even remember them doing the bottle on the head task.
Yeah, I think Rachel did it. From what I remember, yeah.
Huh. Maybe I'll have to go watch that one. So it was stack up your melons or use your melon.
Yeah.
What would you decide to do?
Honestly, I probably would have picked the stacking of the watermelons.
Really?
Yeah, and now after watching it, that may have been a mistake, but I don't know. It may have been a mistake, or it may not have. I don't know. I'm a taller guy. My balance is off. I think I think that would have been hard to do the bottle thing. So
it's funny though. Like I just thought, I'm like, oh, that looks pretty easy, actually. So I would definitely have been wanting to do the bottle challenge. I don't want to carry heavy things and make a big pyramid of water. Just don't. So would we fight? Would we get in a fight? Like, how would we solve this? Try the bottle one for a bit and then switch?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to do it really quickly, though, too. It would depend how well we're doing. I think if we were up in the front of the pack, it'd be okay to try both of them to see how we're doing. But yeah.
It didn't seem like they were far apart, anyways. It didn't. I mean, maybe it was, but it didn't. It seemed as though, because I believe Hung and Chi tried the bottle task first, and then they jumped over to the stacking watermelon. So it seemed pretty seamless and quick, but obviously that's just like a snippety snip of the editing. So who really knows?
Oh yeah.
So D'Angelo and Gary get there first, and they decide to do the stacking watermelons. And in the beginning, they were just tossing those watermelons, and D'Angelo getting them down. And I thought they had a really good pace going. What do you think of the arc of that team and the watermelon stacking challenge?
Yeah, like what happened? They were doing so well before getting there, and then they get to this task, and their communication started to go down. They started like getting frustrated with one another with the throwing the watermelons off the truck. They didn't really seem to strategize on how to actually build it. They just sort of said, okay, there's 10 there and 10 there. They didn't take a look at it like in how it was shaped. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. They seem to self-destruct, it seems, on a lot of these legs. That's been happening. Like they seem to be doing well, and then something goes wrong.
It was so shocking. I really thought that they were going to do well, and then they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. It definitely seemed as though Gary's a better thrower than like that arrangement seemed to work better with
better. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, I mean, maybe it was just to change things up and they were tired, but like I thought that they should have maybe stuck with that because it seemed to be working well. Personally.
Yeah, right. And that challenge really, like, of all the 8 teams, that team is the team that you would go, yeah, they probably would do well at the watermelon task.
But, so did they, I think. They thought so too.
Yeah.
So I wrote down, yay, James went out first before Leo. So I know that I'm not team Leo and Alana right now because I'm so happy that he wasn't going to have maybe face being yielded. So I loved that. And yeah, everybody, I don't like them for whatever reason. I feel kind of bad.
I'm not rooting for them.
That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Maybe. Kinder.
Yeah. Kinder.
So did you think that this was amazing? I thought it was. We saw a clip of Will and James actually practice putting the bottles on their head. They probably, when they knew that they were getting on the race, were like, oh, let's like watch old things and practice some tasks. And so they just so happened to practice that, which I thought was pretty cool.
I don't think they've ever done that before on the race where they've shown people preparing for the race like beforehand. And like, I don't remember that. So that was really cool that they were smart enough to watch a season and try the tasks out in their house. I mean, of course, it won't be exactly the same, but why not get some sort of like knowledge of trying something like that? Like, I mean, everybody can get a bottle and go around their house and do that. Like, very smart. Good, very good on them, and seemed to pay off for them. I
feel like I should be practicing this from now on. Like, I'm like, oh, I should practice.
Yeah.
It could be $1 million bottle practice.
That's right.
So they obviously choose that one, which is, I think it lines up, synchronistically that they were able to get this challenge. And so I think that's awesome. And they were pretty good at it. They weren't as fast as I thought they were. With Will being the dancer, he thought that he would be better at the dancing part. But if you know anything about dance, like when he was talking about spotting, so basically if you're turning, in order to not get dizzy, you kind of focus on one spot on like the wall, and then you whip your head all the way around and you go and focus on that spot on the wall. So your head's usually going before your body, or like your head's the last thing to turn with after your body. And so that's something you naturally do when you turn as a dancer. You just would be spotting. And so he can't do that. And so I can understand why he wasn't doing as well as we would expect him to. But the funny thing is actually, it's something that you just naturally do as a dancer when you're turning, and to not do that, it's very disorienting.
I'd be a mess.
Okay, we're throwing the watermelons, Phil. Okay. Fine. So Hung and Chi were third. Well, they get over to the watermelon. No, they get over to the bottle task. They tried it a little bit, and it wasn't working for them. So this would be me and you trying it, not working for us, and then we hop over to the watermelon task, which I think you could actually do it potentially quite quickly, because at least they're like big things. It's not like super meticulous, but how did you think about the stacking though? Because like D'Angelo and Gary's, I think that they just felt kind of bad for them.
Yeah, I mean, I thought of because I forget how many teams. Was it 3 teams did the stacking? I think so. The volleyball players had the most confusing one to me. I didn't quite understand the let's only do half of it. I didn't understand how that worked, but it did work for them. But I liked how they actually they saw that the bottom was done differently and that how the corners were done, and they were paying attention to what it looked like. So I think they did probably well, but they weren't there. The volleyball players got out pretty fast. I just didn't get it. I didn't get why how that worked. Divided it in half and then just keep adding to it. I
didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
So explain to me what they did.
So they said they were going to build it up in sections. So I think they built up they did either a quarter or they started from one side, and then they built up, and then they went back to the other side and started building up. So they made a triangle and a triangle, but I don't know why that would work. So,
well, I guess it would make it less likely for a whole row to come tumbling down, I guess.
That could be, yeah.
And then it would be more secure to be putting the other side up, I guess. I'm just guessing here, but
yeah,
something like that. It worked.
It worked. They yeah. So maybe watch what they did, and just, if we're going to do this.
Before they left, it was 1 hour and 3 minutes it took them to do the cello. And Riley and Madison was there for 1 hour and 43 minutes for the cello, which I was like, wow, that's a very long time. I would just so disheartened just being there for so long and so frustrating. But so it seems as most people just didn't catch the length of one of the strings.
Yeah, it seemed like that, or people didn't understand that you need the strings to be loose. Don't tie the strings first. You have to get everything set and then tie the strings. I was noticing a couple of the teams that ended up being in the back, they were tying everything and then trying to push things so it would just snap. They didn't realize that you have to have one end sort of loose and then retie it or whatever you're going to do. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just seemed as though the learning curve should have been a bit quicker, in my opinion. 1 hour 45 just seems quite long, especially if you have everything kind of in the right spot. I was very surprised, especially by poor, his name is Eshwar. I'm sorry. What's his name? I just forgot.
Oh my gosh, I have it in front of me. Eshwar.
And so he was over and over again, just bursting the strings, bursting. I'm just do something differently.
Yeah.
What you're doing isn't working. Don't be surprised that you do it again. It's going to burst the strings. And so I wish that he had figured out more quickly that wasn't maybe the way to go to get this done. So.
Yeah, and I found that he was one of the people that I felt this Alliance of Five, that he should have been asking some questions, he with his group, because they would have helped him. So he should have spoke up and said, I don't know what I'm doing, but
so just tightening. That's all you can do is just tighten. And so so I think this is the team that you were kind of impressed by the most. She knocks out this cello challenge pretty fast. I don't think they gave us the time though, but what do you think of your girl?
I don't think they gave us a time, but I was, because they were there, one of the last teams to get there, and they got there much after the teams had started. And she pushed ahead of some of these teams, and they got some power behind them for the rest of the leg. They did really well. So it was nice to see. I'm pleasantly surprised by this team. I think at first I was like, oh, it doesn't look good, but this was a really good leg.
Absolutely. It definitely made me more endeared to them. I wanted Michelle to do well in that challenge, and she did. I was definitely, this was the beginning of me starting to really like them in this episode and rooting for them more than I had been up until now. So yes. I think they're starting to kind of emerge. Well, Michelle is as like the star of this season. I feel like she's the most interesting character. She's funny. Like you just want to know like how she's going to react to certain things. And she has like, seems a lot of interesting talents as well. And you're like, oh, so she's like, she's really good at this. Like,
oh, they were so good. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like, I do really feel like they seem to be united much better than they were on the last leg. Because the last leg things started to fall apart for them, but they must have had a good pit stop talk or something like that. So
yeah, well, maybe it was like, oh my God, we can't do that badly again. Like, yeah, they must have just been like, we got to be more thorough. We got to work together a little bit better. And like, they probably were just like, let's fix this to do well. So I'm rooting for them. I like them now. I wish I put them on my team. Whatever. So we go back to Will and James, and they are doing the bottle challenge. And you finally see them getting to the end of it, and they succeeded. And I don't know why, if I'm just being emotional or not, but like I teared up when they won this. I think it's because like they like them. There's such fans, and they practiced it. Like, I don't know, there was just something about them getting this task done that like it really made me teary-eyed.
They did very well, and I'll give them that. They did very well, and they really had a really emotional, nice story this leg. So that was good.
Do you not love them?
I can't. I'm not really rooting for them right now. So I don't know. There's just something I feel like they're going to be, something's going to happen and I'm going to be like, yeah, they're sneaky. I knew they were sneaky.
I mean, like you would like something like they'd go against one of their top 5 teams kind of thing?
Yeah, I think they're going to be the team that does something sneaky, and it's going to take out one of the teams that are going to be like, no!
So what the real thing is that Will and James are a better racing team than some of your favorites, and you're worried about them taking out your favorites, which are lesser well-performed teams.
That's right. Maybe.
That's what I think anyways. So they get that done, and that's the end of this episode. Like, they just were racing to the pit stop after that, weren't they?
They were just, I mean, again, another leg where there wasn't really tons of tasks. Mm-hmm. They went straight there. They got this is like 2 in a row, isn't it, for them?
Mm-hmm.
So again, just like Hung and Chi, that's 2 for both of them. So those are the 2 teams that I think quite impressive right now.
Oh, I was going to say, isn't that your first pick, but you picked Aparna and Eshwar for your number 1 pick. But
first, was
Will and James my
But no, I think
players.
Yeah, I think right now they might be dropping a little bit for my. I mean, they were my first pick, but I think either Hung and Chi or Gary and D'Angelo are I think that they might pull it off. So
the MVPs of your team.
Yeah,
I think Hung and Chi are stronger right now than Gary and D'Angelo, but that could change up in a second if they have a good task.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Okay, so finally Eshwar gets it, and he was at the task with, I don't know which sister is which.
I think that one was Kalyn.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that one was Kalyn.
I just am like, not that they don't look exactly alike, but I haven't seen them with their names separately to be able to, or enough for me to be able to distinguish who is who. You know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily right underneath them in the same order as who they're in the car with, or, you know?
Yeah, and so I can't say that I know which one's which for sure yet, which is probably not a good thing. But you could tell once he left, I don't know if it was because of the taxi ride or whatever, she seemed to be relaxed on this task and wasn't rushing on it. I don't know if she had resigned herself to be, okay, I'm in last. I kind of got that vibe she sort of did. But I felt bad because she I think she was there still quite a bit longer than it even maybe felt like. So
I kind of feel that particular team doesn't necessarily have a very competitive drive. I feel that they kind of like just kind of going with the flow and easy going about it, which is fine if that's the way you want to run the race. But they don't seem to have that like winning drive. And she was going to be fine with being last. You know what I mean? That she wasn't trying to catch up or trying to move forward. It could be good because you could be more thorough and won't make any mistakes or whatever. Sure. But I feel as though they don't necessarily have the fire in the competitive spirit that some of these other teams have. And it showed here.
I agree. Yeah, completely.
So I'm pretty impressed, though. Will and James at the Mac got $5,000 each. So good. I want that. Especially knowing that all these trips that people are winning.
The trips?
They have to pay tax on it. Like, no, just give me the money. I'll pay the tax and the money, and I want the cold, hard cash.
I'll go on my own trip. That's okay.
Like, come on, Amazing Race. Pay for the tax.
Ugh. But they did well.
Two that kind of sucks for this particular cast is that you don't get any of the prizes until the end of like it airs. So they still, the winner of this race still has not received $1 million. So like they could be like living paycheck to paycheck right now, and like they know that they have $1 million. That could be in the bank making them some money. I guess maybe it's sitting in Amazing Race's bank and
making them money, making CBS money. But probably
it sucks, like knowing that you're a millionaire, but like you can't act like it for 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Wow.
Well, and all these people that won these trips, they're not going to be able to take them at this time.
I know. It's over. Maybe they'll get a cash reward instead because you can't travel.
Yeah.
Who knows how long? Especially not to the United States. Ooh. Like, you know what I mean? To come, like, most places have their borders closed, no? Or am I crazy?
I don't know because some of Europe's going on lockdowns, and then I don't know about because there's been some, like Bali was one of the prizes this season. I don't know. I don't know if that's open right now for people to go to. So
I mean, I know that we, like in Canada here, our borders are closed to the United States. So I wouldn't be surprised if other countries, especially because they have so many cases, like I feel as though no travel for a long while. So I was starting to feel bad, but like D'Angelo really, like they just started to fall apart here. Like Hung and Chi comes, leaves, Riley and Madison come and leave, like, and they just don't seem to be getting any better. Do you think at one point D'Angelo suggested like she would go and do the other task? What do you think about the timing of that, and would that have been something that you would have wanted to consider?
I don't know how they would have done on that other task. They might have done all right on it. I mean, I think that they definitely should have been talking about that at some point. I think one of them did bring it up, and the other one quickly shot it down and said, "No, we're not going." But they were there for a long time because it was sunny and then it was nighttime, and so it was like,
you're done. Like,
yeah.
Especially,
we're getting close to Phil's coming out to see you soon. Like, you don't want that.
Hurry up. Hurry. So it seemed as though it was like going to be a race between Kalyn and the blondes and D'Angelo and Gary. But next up to the pit stop is Michelle and Victoria. So they did, it seemed, the bottle on the head task very quickly. It seemed like they just got it right away.
Very quickly.
Editing, maybe they didn't, but they were second.
Yeah. What I noticed in the bottle test that I really liked about them was they went in with the confidence of, we can do this. That like they both were like, they had that mindset of, we can do this. Whereas the other people were like, can we do this? Let's try it. Like they were worrying about it. But Michelle and Victoria seemed to be like, okay, well, let's just get this done. And I was like, wow, that's a smart way to think about something like that, because you're just in the mood of, I'm going to do this. It's going to work.
And like they can see that it's not that it's easy, but it's possible with having all the other people like dancing with like a billion on their head. So I do think personally, I get where you're coming from, but I just feel like it's an easier challenge to get good at, or figuring out what you need to do. Like there is a learning curve that I think is easily adapt, because it's just like you could feel where on your head, like what you have to maybe do slight adjustments. But with those one watermelon comes down, like it just messes up a lot. So I would be frustrated at the watermelon challenge, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially as dancing.
Well, I'm very happy they were. I love this team, and I want Michelle and Victoria to go very far in this race.
Me too. I do. So Leo and Alana, they did the bottle in the head task, and they ended up getting to the pit stop third. Were you surprised by how well they did this entire leg?
Yeah, their leg was good. Like their leg was sort of up and down, this leg. So, good for them. That's good. I don't know. I'm out with this team. I don't know if I'm rooting for them. I'm not right now rooting for them. I'm not rooting against them, but I just don't see the likability from them from the beginning. From the cast assessment, I've just always been this way. I've just sort of felt like I just don't know about this team.
And I think, though, for me personally also, I think it's Alana that I prefer less. I don't seem to mind Leo. I didn't mind. I did mind how he kind of like a little bit bratty with Will and James. Like I know that they're hurt and annoyed, but like how he kind of came about it was a little bit annoying. But I seem to like him better than I like Alana for whatever reason. Is that the same for you? You're like, yep.
I don't have a feeling for either of them.
Wow. Will and James has been saying like on different podcasts that like they actually really like Leo and Alana, and like everybody's really good friends right now, because obviously they're the only people that can talk to each other about what went on in the race. Ron says they're both dull. Is that what it is? Not dull.
I don't know. No, I don't know if it's that. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like they're ostracizing like the way that they race, and I don't get it. I feel like they're like, that's not even really what it is. It's just something about them that to me makes me go, I wouldn't want to race with these people, because they're just not, they don't come across as like enjoying the experience with everybody. And, you know, like, I don't know. They don't feel like they're part of the same season as the rest of these people. They're running this other race. So,
yeah, I guess that's supposed to be what it is. Like whenever I'm looking at people's strategy in different games like this, I'm always thinking about who I'd want to hang out with, who I want to work with. If it's Big Brother, who I'd want to strategize with. That is part of what makes me like a person on a show and like a season in general. And so I think actually maybe you're right that neither of us really gravitate to wanting to work with them within the race for whatever reason, or however they're giving off whatever energy. I'm going to keep on looking at it like, why? Because you're nice people.
What is it? Yeah. What is that?
So fourth place ends up being Riley and Madison. And I was shocked that they overtook D'Angelo and Gary. This like in and out pretty much, and like still ended up in fourth. And so it's considering he still took an hour and 45 or whatever at the cello, like the fact that he was able to overtake the first leaving team.
Yeah, I mean they really they did well with the watermelon test. They're the first team that did the watermelon test to check in. So I mean, going off what you said, definitely the bottle test does seem like it would have been the smarter option to do. But Riley and Madison, they've had quite a good number of legs. They've placed very high. They need to now get a first place. We need to see them get a first because I think they're deserving of it. They've run a great race, but I want to see them come in first.
Do you know who each are yet, or no? I don't know who's who.
They both have beards.
That's all I got.
We learned about that on episode 2.
In the last 2 episodes, though.
No, they haven't. So I'm very happy about that.
Volleyball, though, a little bit, and about the fact that I can't remember that he made some sort of analogy about like coming in, getting voted out, or coming in last in volleyball something.
Yeah, he said because in volleyball you can play, I think, and sorry to the people who know, but you can play, I think it's 3 matches in volleyball, and so if you lose one match, you still have 2 more that you can win. But he said, but in the race, if you lose, you're out. Like, so something like that. I think that was what he was implying.
Oh, Ron has some thoughts here. I want the brothers have to shave their beards in India for good luck, like Joyce in season 7. Double switched back as Rachel wouldn't shave her head before her wedding. Ron, I think we were saying this before as well. Like we need that to happen. I need to know what these people's faces look like. They need to shave their beards. It's happening, right?
Well, the fact that they're talking about these beards, like I have a feeling like that is going to come up. There's got to be something like that where they're going to have to be asked if they'll do it or not.
Like, I feel like they're cast on this particular season because they have to shave their beards at some point.
That's right.
Like, maybe just for one leg, there'll be a fast forward that they get to go on. That it's like
that only they'll get.
I feel it. It's happening. I've thought about this the whole time. I'm like, those beards are gone. So finally, Kalyn gets the cello task, and for her too, it's nighttime, or for them too, it's nighttime when they're doing the bottle task. We know that the bottle task is an easier one, it seems, and from how they edited it, it made it seem as though they did it pretty well and pretty quickly. And it showed that D'Angelo and Gary were at those watermelons for 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And that's a long time for them. Like, that seems like that's not, like, they messed that up for them. Like, because they should have done that better. So. And
do you think, so I already asked you this, I can't remember, but that they just allowed them to win? They've been there for long enough. It's like, okay, it's 3 hours and 45 minutes. Like, because it wasn't a perfect pyramid.
Yeah, I think the produce guy, he was like, I got to get home. I got to be up in the morning. Like, it's done.
Like, it's okay. It's good enough. We've been here a long time. You know what, though? Probably since the girls weren't coming there, like, they're just like, okay, let's go. Like,
that's right.
So I was surprised that they got it, but because you could see that D'Angelo was deflated. He's like, whatever, like when he was asking for the check, and he's like, because I don't think that he thought that it was deserving of the clue.
No, I got the vibe that he thought that the guy was going to say no. It's not done. So
I felt bad in this moment, though. I did feel bad for him. I was happy that they spent enough time on the task. You know what I mean? There should have been like I know some people have been doing, I think it's mostly Raising Canada, but they've been taking penalties. And so the 4-hour mark is the penalty mark. And so maybe
like there should be a time limit on tasks. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe they just timed out.
Yeah.
But they just made it seem as though they got the clue correct, or they got the pyramid correctly. So fifth in is Aparna and Eshwar, and they did the bottle challenge. They didn't seem to have that much trouble.
No, and they're lucky because they were towards the bottom of the pack, so they did very well in that bottle task, obviously. So
for sure, so they ended up coming in fifth. Sixth was Hung and Cheese, so they came from the watermelon. So they were second from the watermelon challenge after Riley and Madison. And finally, they got Deanna and Gary. It looks as though it's some sort of like race to the finish line. I don't feel like it was.
No. I do feel the girls probably did okay at the bottle task because it did seem like a lot of the teams did. But I don't necessarily feel like the timing. I think Gary and D'Angelo were probably early evening checking in, and probably more towards 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night that the girls checked in. It seemed to be like they were quite far behind.
I'm interested to see the time difference when they leave for the next leg. For sure. So D'Angelo and Gary come in seventh, and they really thought that they were out of the race. And I think that was the other time I kind of got a little bit choked up because I was just to know they really thought that they were out of it, and they weren't. And
that's good. That's good that they weren't. I think the fans of the show, I think we would be a little depressed if they were out already, because I don't know, they bring a good energy to the show. They probably they're very up and down, so it's very hard to say that they're going to win, but they do bring great energy to the show, which is nice. You need those teams too. So
we do. And then the girls come in finally. They felt like they were last. They seemed ready to go home. And then Phil says it's a non-elimination leg. Were you surprised by it being a non-elim?
I wasn't, because they had said that there was supposed to be two episodes. So I was like, oh, I bet the first one's a non-elim. But so I wasn't surprised about that. I felt I will say I did feel sad because they thought they were out at that point, and we were talking about why they were racing for their father. For one of them for their father, which was really nice to hear. So it was nice to actually get a little bit of a story about these girls that we didn't get from reading about them. Like it was actually something shown on the show. So that was nice. But I mean, I don't know how much of a difference this is going to really make to their race. They're going to have to work really hard, I think, next leg to stay in it. I don't know if they have that umph like you were talking about. I don't think they have that want to stay in the race fight.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they're out next.
Exactly. Like, I don't know if they're going to be able to do well enough to overcome the speed bump that they're going to have to encounter and then still keep in lockstep with the other teams. I just don't see them having the fire for that. But I mean, if they do, like, I've been liking them more than I thought. I'm not really rooting for them. I was definitely rooting for D'Angelo and Gary at that pit stop moment. Like, I knew that they were coming in before them, but that's who I wanted to see come through. And we obviously neither of us chose them on our team. And so we're not really rooting for them. But if they get some energy and want to be there, like I don't mind them on the show.
Yeah. If they do, what I do hope for CBS, at least, I hope we get to know a little bit more about them, because I just feel like they're one of the teams towards the bottom that I like. I don't like. I mean, I can't even tell you which one's which at this point. Like, I just don't know anything about this team. So,
well, we don't know which is which for the brothers as well. Maybe we just get hyper between.
Maybe it's our fault.
So I remember back in the day, they used to. It wasn't called a speed bump, but they would take away all their money and stuff like that for the next task. They just left them with their passport, I believe it was. Why do you think that they changed this up?
Yeah, I know. So I think the first they didn't. Nothing would happen if they came in. They were just saved, and then they took away their money and possessions, and they sort of stopped doing that. I believe they ran into trouble. I forget which season it was. They ran into trouble because they were in a country where they did it, and it was illegal for people to beg for money. And so they got into some trouble, I believe, with that because there was people commenting after the show had aired about how wrong that was, that they broke that rule. And then I believe that after that, they did a thing where you were marked for elimination if you came in last, and you got like a half an hour penalty unless you could come in first the next leg. And so then it encompassed into this, well, why don't we just throw another task in there and get them to do it? Sometimes the thing I like about it is, then it's on the racers. Like they have to do something more. The thing I don't like is sometimes the speed bump seems really, really easy. And then sometimes it's like really hard. And you're like, who's making that decision of like, when that happens? I don't know. Sometimes they're really easy and you're just like, what that wasn't like anything. So
True. Another thing though, maybe you because you're a historian and all, you'll know, because I remember in the beginning I used to always know when it was going to be a non-elimination leg because he said may be eliminated, and then at one point he switched to always saying may be eliminated. Do you remember when that switch happened? Because I remember always being like, okay, it's not
always. I mean, and but don't believe that happened really that like that was a number of seasons where he would do that, and you would know, and then people were like, okay, so obviously it's not. And I guess they thought people wouldn't watch that week because they knew for sure like nobody was going. I don't know, but it used to always also be like you would wait. It wouldn't be until like for sure the final 6, and then they'd start like doing the non-eliminations. And now they spread it out that it could be really any leg. I do feel like though there are clues sometimes where it does sort of say like, I know when it's like continue on racing leg, usually it will say something like, just see Phil at the mat, as opposed to so there's always little clues in there.
Yeah, like not check in or whatever, but okay, we'll look out for it then the next time.
Yeah.
Clues. I like following the clues. So yeah, the girls are not going to be out of the race. They did seem pretty happy about it, and they're going to be going to Paris. Now, Paris is somewhere that I have been, and I love Paris. I wish I was from Paris. It's so beautiful, and like everybody's just so cool. And like just like hanging out on a little cafe on the street corner, having cheese and wine and cigarettes. Like I loved Paris. I went 2 falls ago, and a friend of mine was going to be there at the same time. It just so happened, and so we would just like go to these like markets and just buy like €4 like 1 liter bottle of rosé wine, a bunch of that, and then like go and buy baguettes and cheese and nuts and like go sit on the what is that water called? Anyway, sit by the water. I can't remember what it's called right now, and just like have a little picnic and just hang out all day. Like that's your life. I love it.
Oh, I haven't been to Paris. I've been to, sort of been to France. We're on a train. Oh, yes.
I am Parisian. I'm glad you believe it, Ron. Well, I did live in Montreal too, so I'm decent at French. So that's also, I think, helpful for enjoying the city, because I'm willing to at least try to speak French with everybody there, and so people don't look at me as like an American tourist, you know?
Yeah.
Which through any experience.
You don't want that.
No. Sorry, Paris on a train. Have you been to anywhere else in France?
No, we actually it was trained through France through the channel. So I haven't actually got to. I've been to Belgium, which is probably the closest. So, but yeah, unfortunately, not to Paris. It's on the list to check out some places in France, though, but
I
not
wonder
yet.
if we do anything like at Cognac or in Champagne. Like, I'm wondering if we do that route.
Oh, I mean, there's so many good places, right? Like, yeah, the south of France is beautiful, right? Like, I mean, there's so much there. Amazing Race, the very first season, they went to Paris. They were in France for a couple of episodes. So it's nice to see them go back there again. It's a great country.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see that. Like, it's just because I've been there recently. That's like, I want to be like looking out for landmarks. I'm like, oh, I walked down that street. Like, I don't know. Okay, so that's the episode. Do you have any other thoughts about it that we haven't talked about?
The only other thing that we didn't talk a little bit about, just when we got to the check-in for Hung and Chi, I mean, this was their probably worst leg that they've had, but they were quite. I felt they were a little hard on themselves. They seem to be a little bit more hard on themselves than I think that they really deserve. They seem to have been running an okay race, and it just seemed like they were worrying about their communication style. So, what did you think about that?
If you remember when they were doing the watermelon challenge and Hung was on like the back of the truck, and she's like, "Gee, you have to communicate with me. Like, what are you doing? What are you thinking?" Like, and they were kind of yelling back and forth there, and he wasn't really communicating with her at all. Yeah. And so I think that, you know, the fact that they fell so low in the rankings, and like he could hear her yelling at her, so like he knows that there was a communication breakdown at some point. I think that he was, you know, taking it all on his shoulders, and he kind of even mentioned that like in their relationship he does have a problem with communicating. And so I think he was realizing that the lack of communication could make them lose this race. And so I think that they're just like scared. Right. I think they were scared straight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I hope so. I don't want them to be down on themselves, because I still think that they did a pretty darn good job. You know, like they did the harder of the two tasks. They did it in a decent time before D'Angelo and Gary at least got it done. Their communication seemed okay, but maybe they didn't show everything. But maybe they at least they know now that this is what they need to work on. And when they don't have good communication, they go to 6th place.
Right.
But I hope
Let's hope.
I hope they get out of their little rut. Any other thoughts? I don't think there's not that much going on today.
No, I don't think so. Well, let's see. We've got another survey for our listeners to take part. And thank you to everybody that's been doing it. It's been great. Like, I mean, we have been getting people responding to it, so that's wonderful.
Yay.
That did take place in Paris. That's true.
I remember the infamous quote, you guys. Tell me it, please.
The infamous quote is, so Kim and Leslie were season 1. They got into a fight with Paul and Amy, and this is the very first probably two couples that fought with each other on the race. And this is when Kim and Leslie get out of the taxi and go, "You're a fat bitch."
I remember,
they fought, but Kim and Leslie end up getting eliminated that leg, so it doesn't grow into anything. But definitely interesting. They were fighting the whole way from South. I think they were going from South Africa all the way up to Paris. So it was an interesting episode. They were not getting along.
I want to go find that clip now. I'm gonna go search it on YouTube.
Oh, it's on YouTube, so you'll be able to find that
for sure. Okay, so let's look at this new survey that you have for us this week. I'm excited to hear what questions you have.
So we went a little all over the place with the questions. So the first one is just on a scale of 1 being low and 10 being high, how much are you enjoying this season?
I'd say a strong 9. 9.
Yeah, I think it's been a good season. Our regular, which task do you think was the hardest? So, do you think the cello building, the really hard make a drink challenge, the stack the watermelons, or the bottle balance dance?
I think for me, the watermelon one, because that's just a lot of labor. So seems like you get tired, and you see how like the watermelons are falling. I feel like that you'd also have to overcome being like upset by your whole stack falling down too, and so overcoming that would be also a challenge as well. So I would say for me, all over, like the watermelon challenge was the most challenging.
Our next one is an open question, and this is here we go. I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you think is the best solution when your taxi driver is lost and you are in the middle of nowhere?
Man. I mean, I know the girls were trying. They just wanted to drive, and like their taxi driver was going and knocking on doors and whatnot. I think that I would just ask them to I think I would let them talk to people, the taxi driver.
Yeah.
Just be like, can you find out? Do you have a phone? Can you see if somebody has a phone? Can we search it? I would probably want to solicit maybe help from another taxi driver, or like, I think it was the right decision for the woman to be going knocking on houses.
Yeah, I think the only other thing I might have thought of, they seem to be when all the racers came out of the airport, the taxi drivers all seem to be from like the same taxi company. Like they looked like they were all wearing. So maybe phoning another taxi driver and just saying, "Where did you go?" Kind of thing. That might have.
That's a good idea.
Will Kalyn and Haley be able to survive the next leg?
I don't think.
What's your feeling?
I don't think so.
I don't either. Yeah.
And like as we said before, I don't think they have the competitive drive that will allow them to overcome, unless it's a very easy leg. Like they seem to do decently well the previous episode. I mean, everybody failed at not bringing their bags and stuff like that, so they weren't penalized for that mistake, we'll say. But that challenge, like they were able to come in third. So if it was things like that they'll be successful at, or like maybe if they speak French, they might be, they might have a leg up with some of the tasks. But if it was a leg even close to this particular leg, plus a speed bump, I don't think that they have a chance.
Yeah. After 4 legs in, which 3 teams do you see making it to the finals?
I see Riley and Madison. I see Hung and Chi. And I see Will and James.
Wow. All right.
I think that 4th place will probably be Michelle and Victoria. Like, I think that they're going, because they kind of go up and down. Like, they do very strong leg this time around, but sometimes the wheels fall off the bus with them, So like, you're like, okay, we're good this time, but I'm not fully, assured of their abilities. I think that they're a good team. They're interesting to watch. When they do well, they do really well, but when they do badly, they do really badly. So I think we might get there, like, just like, not be last, but I don't know if they'll get into the final 3.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to have to go with, I kind of agree that just because of every episode seems to be a Will and James part. So I can see them with editing getting there. Maybe Hung and Chi, and maybe, I want to say Gary and D'Angelo, but I have a feeling Gary and D'Angelo are going to be 4th. So I'm going to go with, I think you might have 2 teams in the final 3. I don't know, with Riley and Madison. So I'm hoping, come on, Hung and Chi.
I know, you know it. You could feel it inside you.
Okay, and now this one's going to be a little bit more hard for you. This is go back to, we had a switchback season 20. Which season 20 team would you like to see race again? Now, I'll name them, and you tell me if you even remember them.
Okay.
All right. Missa and Maya, the sisters.
Zero idea who that is.
Okay.
You have
Dave. I don't have a photo of them. No, I'm sorry.
Can I look it up?
They were first out.
Hold on. So season 20?
Season 20.
Let's see if I can look up the cast so then I can at least look at the pictures here.
Okay.
Hold on. So let me just get going if I can. I want the whole cast. Images. Okay, so you said what were their names?
Missa and Maya. And they were sisters.
Okay, so I remember them a little bit.
Okay, Dave and Sherry.
Hold up.
Oh, are you putting them up? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small photo, but okay. So I don't remember them. Like I remember their face, but I don't remember what they were like on the race. And you're saying that they were eliminated first?
They were first out, yeah.
Are they Hawaiian? No. San Diego.
Yeah, San Diego.
Yeah, their face looks familiar, but I do not remember them at all.
All right. Dave and Sherry, the married clowns. Not one of my favorites. little creepy for me.
Oh yeah, you hate clowns. David and Sherry.
Yeah.
I can't even find. I remember there being clowns on the race. Okay, here's.
Yeah, there's the famous clowns from season 4, John and Al. But yeah, Dave and Sherry. Now these are, I believe they were second out. So.
Okay, let me see what they look like. Is this them?
That's them.
I don't remember them, but I don't need to see them again. Nope.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Elliot and Andrew, the twins.
I don't remember these people. Did you remember these people, or did you just look them up?
Oh no, I had to go back at Wikipedia and look these people up, and I can honestly say I need to rewatch of this season because I don't remember these teams very well. So,
I don't even really remember them either.
No.
They're cute though.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I remember more so like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do. Yeah, they remind me of Amazing Race Canada team, but I don't remember who. Carrie and Stacy.
Who are these?
Carrie is
Kerri
is Kerri.
Oh. Kerri and Stacy. These are them?
That's them? Yep.
Don't remember them? Like you, I didn't watch this season, but I watched every season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, when I heard this name, I was like, okay, I remember this team: Joey Fitness and Danny.
I remember the name Joey Fitness. I don't remember these people. The guy in the right looks more familiar.
Yeah, I think that's Joey Fitness. So, okay, Nary and Jamie. Nary is Nary, and Jamie Jamie.
I feel like I feel like a fraud. I think I need to like see them in the game
in action
again. I don't.
Yeah, they were federal agents. That's what they were billed as.
Okay.
Okay, this team for sure you'll remember. Bopper and Mark.
Yes, I remember them.
Okay.
I actually really liked them. I didn't want them when they went out. I didn't want them to go out. I think.
Yeah, I think that they probably were fan favorite. They were liked quite a bit. They did come back in the second All Stars, but one of the Bopper I think got sick, so it ended up Mark had to run it with Mallory.
I totally remember that, and I remember them. So this is the only team that I like.
Remember. Okay. Vanessa and Ralph dating divorcees, and this team was the team that fought with the next team that I'll mention. So this was like Vanessa and Ralph. Yeah.
Who are these people? Oh, he looks familiar. Man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Is this them too? Yeah.
That's them, yeah.
He looks familiar, but she doesn't look familiar to me right now. I need to hear like yelling at him or something.
Yeah. Okay, and the team that they fought with, Brendan. Oh, I will say Vanessa and Ralph, they fought like the whole race with each other. Like yeah. Brendan and Rachel.
Were you still rooting for
Big
them?
Brother?
I know who they are, obviously.
From Big Brother.
Big Brother. Brendan.
I hope people know who they are.
Well, just in case people need to be refreshed. They're pretty whiny, but like they're decent on the race, though.
They did well on the race, and yeah, I mean, there's the picture of Rachel crying a little bit further down there. That was the perfect. The Amazing Race is supposed to be for fun or something.
Where is it?
Keep going a little. There she is. There she is. The individual photo. No, keep going. Down. One more. Down. There we go with the green. With the. He's crying there.
It's supposed to be fun.
Art and JJ. There she is.
I mean, I love obviously finds people wherever, but like I still am impressed by Brendan's patience with her.
Yeah.
Because she's pretty like I like her obviously as a character, but I think she could be maybe a little bit tiring, you know, like she's very emotional and kind of loud. But he loves her.
Oh, amazing television, right? Like, I mean, you can't stop watching her.
No, I mean, I love watching them on the race too. I just like surprised, like he's just has so much patience. I don't know if I would have that much patience to be in a relationship with her.
Then there was Art and JJ. They were Border Patrol agents, and they were actually on the last season, but they had come back.
They were out right?
They were out first, yeah. And then the winners of season 20 were Rachel and Dave.
Art and JJ. Wait, just go back up to Art and JJ. Art and JJ. Yeah. Were they fan favorites? Like, why were they brought back to last season?
I think they. I don't know because I didn't really like them, but I think it's not that really means anything. But like I think people did like them. I think they were kind of also against Brendan and Rachel at times too. So I don't know. I don't know what it was about them. I can remember other teams that were like them that I would have thought would have come back instead, but yeah.
Alrighty. And so now the winners that I don't even remember
were Rachel and Dave, the Army wife and combat pilot.
let's see if I don't remember. Okay. I kind of remember them.
Yeah, they were quite. From what I remember, they were a quieter team.
I want to
compared to the other drama going on.
Footage. I don't. Man, I'm bad. But this is like a decade ago.
Yeah, I will say that myself, I would not rate this as one of my favorite seasons. This season is probably the beginning of the I'm stopping remembering all these characters. Like I wasn't a big fan of this season. So
I would definitely have to watch it again because like the fact that like I remember the season when Brendan and Rachel were on it, obviously. So like I know that I've watched it, but I just do not remember any of this.
All right. So if you right at this moment, I said, okay, you have to cast one of these teams.
Yeah.
Which team would it be? Brendan and Rachel?
You might as well. Like she's good TV. They're pretty good at the race, to be honest. And they give you what you need for the episodes for the show. Yeah. They would be doing sneaky things to try to win. Like they bring in this Big Brother strategy, stuff like that. She cries a lot, but they're usually pretty good at the job at the race. So I would be interested in seeing them play again. But I also don't remember anybody else. So what about you?
I'm going to maybe put my vote in. I'll do the survey this week, but I don't know. I'm going to have to look back on these teams. For some reason, I vaguely remember I liked Joey Fitness and whoever the other person was. I've taken it down, but that may have been more just from a viewer's standpoint of being able to look at Joey Fitness, but.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that I had a memory like some historians do, because I just don't. Maybe when I start watching again, yes, I'll remember. But I have too many thousands and thousands of hours of reality TV lodged in there that like I don't remember at all.
Yeah, and this is towards the end of the race when then they started going, you know what, we need to do some other stuff to make people watch. So they started like, now it's $2 million for a team if they, and like that was starting to come up. So I think part of that was this race and the next one were kind of quieter and not as fan receptive. Like I don't think fans got really behind it. So.
Yeah. Well, it was a great episode, though. The episode was great. Maybe I'll do a little bit of history and find that the Paris clips. For next week. Do you have any final thoughts, Phil? Are you working on anything? You want to share anything that you're doing?
No, just feel free to. I've got my Twitter handle there. Feel free to join me on Twitter. And pardon?
How many people are you at?
I think you're following me. I haven't been pushing it as crazy, but I'm going to say, I'm excited about this race. I'm excited for next week. Definitely fill out the survey. It's going to be in the comments for this video. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you so much, Chantele. It's fun to talk about this season with you.
I love talking about it with you. I also just want to pull up your Twitter account.
Is it just you? Is it just
maybe we have both my accounts? There you go.
See? Well, now if Reality Realness can follow me, I think some of our listeners can too.
Well, okay. You had a goal though. You wanted to get to how many subscribers by the end of the season? And not subscribers, followers.
Followers on Twitter. What did I say? 10. I don't. At this point, I think 10's probably. a stretch. We'll see.
We can get you 10. All you need to do is even post it in your Survivor group. I'm sure they'll follow you. Okay, so we're gonna get you. Let's see if we can get you to 10 by next week.
By next week, all right. Well, that's the challenge. All right,
you guys can
we're trying to get 1,000 for you, right?
Yes, 1,000, please. Obviously, we love people chatting in the chat room. We think that's super fun. With 1,000 subscribers, it'll also give me a little bit of confidence of maybe getting some interviews with some people. Like, I don't think that we'd be on the junket for this season, but maybe some past seasons would be willing to chat with us. And so, at 1,000 followers or subscribers, I will be putting myself out there and trying to get some cool interviews with some people. So that would be what I'd be offering up for 1,000 subscribers. So if you could help us do that, just press that little button. It's like right over there.
Come on,
please. So we go live. Pretty much every day I go live. You'll be notified, and yeah, like this video if you like us talking about The Amazing Race, because we love talking about it.
What other shows are you doing right now?
I'm doing The Masked Singer. So on Fridays, usually about 6:30, I do The Masked Singer with Jonathan. I'm doing, obviously, The Bachelor Trainwreck on Wednesdays, generally speaking. This week, we'll be doing it tomorrow at 2 p.m. Because the episode is airing tonight this week, obviously because of the elections. And also on Mondays at 1:30 with Michelle, we're doing a rewind to 1995's Road Rules, the first one.
Wow.
Season 1.
Very cool.
Like, it is so old school. And I'm kind of thinking and toying with doing maybe like an evolution of strategy. So Rob as a podcast does that for Survivor. About how the strategy has evolved through each season. So I was not in the same way, but like I thought that maybe having the discussion, like, so just like plowing through all these old seasons and see like, okay, well, this is when strategy started to begin, and like have a little bit of conversation like that. So if you want to hop on this bandwagon with us, Phil, you're not a challenge watcher, correct?
No, not. I need to get into it. Yeah.
I've
been told I'd love it. So
start with we're only on they're 20-minute episodes for Road Rules. So Road Rules was the beginning of the challenge. Basically it was Real World versus Road Rules, the challenge. They started that like 99 or 2000. And so like you could just start watching Road Rules with us, because that's the inception. Like that's where it all began. And all the characters started to develop out of there. So if you want to jump in with us,
all right.
Follow me along. Other than that, anything else?
I'm good.
Yay.
Oh.
I didn't mean to do that.
I was gonna say, and so I stayed on. I was like, hold on. She left before she closed it on.
Hilarious. I didn't mean to do that. Like my finger just, with the MacBook, when you just like lightly tap, sometimes it'll like enter. And I guess I was on like the X. And so it just like logged out the entire screen. I was like, oh, no.
No. I was like, the live's still going, the clock. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
All right, sorry guys. That's this is reality TV. This really happens. It can't be perfect when you go live. So, thanks for holding down the fort for the few moments where I was out into time and space. But for real,
wonderful.
I will speak to you soon. Love you guys. Subscribe.